everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Second night of Hanukkah. We have our main man today here on the piano, Rabbi Shapira. And we bless the Lord for the second night of Hanukkah. Tonight, in the second night of Hanukkah, we have the Yoetz, the mighty counselor. The mighty counselor. I hope you're enjoying being here with us every night. Every night we receive a new teaching. And every night we're going through the Hanukkah and the Light of Mashiach. And I hope it's a blessing to you to be able to enter in with us. And tonight we want to pray specifically for anybody who needs wisdom today, from the mighty counselor. Abba, in the name of Yeshua, those who need today the counsel of the Lord, send them the mighty counselor today. Just as you gave Judah the Maccabee the power and the wisdom and the strength how to defeat the Greek. We know we don't battle against flesh and blood, and we will be victorious. So as we hear the Alanissim today, wow, we're just believing today for miracles to be upon you, might, power, and understanding upon each and every one of you today. Let's go now to the Rebbetzin, who have prepared for us chapter 3, chapter 4 of the book of Maccabees. We'll be back just a little bit later for the lighting of the Hanukkiah. Welcome, hit the share and the like.
Chapter 3. Then his son Judas, called Maccabees, rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him. And so did they that held with his father, and fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. So he got his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him. And he made battles, protecting the host with his sword. In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. For he pursued the wicked, and sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand. He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away the wrath from Israel, so that he was renowned unto the utmost part of the earth, and he received unto him such as were ready to perish. Then Apollonius gathered the Gentiles together in a great host out of Samaria to fight against Israel, which thing when Judas perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him and slew him, and many also fell down slain, but the rest fled. Wherefore Judas took their spoils, and Apollonius his sword also, and therewith he fought all his life long. Now when Saron, a prince of the army of Syria, heard say that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and a company of the faithful to go out with war, he said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Judas and them that are with him, who despise the king's commandment. So he made him ready to go up, and there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly to help him, and to be avenged to the children of Israel. And when he came near to the group going up of Beth-horon, Judas went forth to meet him with a small company, who when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude, and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day? Unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few. And with God, the God of heaven, it is all one to deliver with a great multitude or in a small company. For the victory of battle stands not in the multitude of a host, but strength comes from heaven. They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us and our wives and our children and to spoil us. But we fight for our lives and our laws. Wherefore the Lord himself will be overthrown them before our face, and as for you, be you not afraid of them. Now as soon as he had left off speaking, he leapt suddenly upon them, and so Sihon and his hosts were overthrown before him. And they pursued them from going down of Beth-horon unto the plain, where they were slain, about 800 men of them, and the residue fled into the land of the Philistines. Then began the fear of Judas and his brothers, and an exceeding great dread to fall upon the nations round about them, insomuch as his fame came unto the king, and all nations talked of the battles of Judas. Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation, wherefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army. So he opened also his treasure, and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them. Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed, and the tributes of the country were small, because of the dissension and plague which he had brought upon the land, in taking away the laws which have been of old time, he feared that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor have the gifts to give so liberally as he did before, for he had abounded above the kings that were before him. Wherefore, being greatly perplexed in his mind, he determined to go into Persia, there to take the tributes of the countries, and to gather much money. So he left Lysias, a nobleman, and one of the royal blood, to oversee the affairs of the king from the river Euphrates unto the borders of Egypt, and to bring up his son Antiochus until he came again. Moreover, he delivered unto him half of his forces and the elephants, and gave him charge of all things that he would have done, as also concerning them that dwelt in Judea and Jerusalem. To wit, that he should send any army against them to destroy and root out the strength of Israel and the remnant of Jerusalem, and to take away their memorial from that place, and that he should not place strangers in all their quarters and divide their land by lot. So the king took half the forces that remained and departed from Antioch, his royal city, the 147th year. Having passed the river Euphrates, he went through the high countries. Then Lysias chose Ptolemy, the son of Dorimenes, Nicanor, and Gorgias, mighty men of the king's friends. And with them he sent 40,000 footmen and 7,000 horsemen to go into the land of Judah and to destroy it, as the king commanded. So they went forth with all their power, and came and pitched by Emmaus in the plain country. And the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. A power also of Syria and of the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. Now when Judas and his brethren saw the miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did encamp themselves in their borders, for now they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people and utterly abolish them, they said to one another, let us restore the decayed fortune of our people, and let us fight for our people and for the sanctuary. Then was the congregation gathered together, that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went out. The sanctuary was also trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in the place, and the joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased. Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together, and came to Maphsah, over against Jerusalem. And for in Maphsah was the place where they prayed aforetime in Israel. Then they fasted that day, and put on sackcloth, and cast ashes upon their heads, and rent their clothes, and laid open the book of law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. They brought also the priest's garments, and the first fruits, and the tithes, and the Nazarites they stirred up, who had accomplished their days. Then they cried with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, "What shall we do with these? And whither shall we carry them away? For this sanctuary is trodden down and profaned, and thy priests are in heaviness and brought low. And lo, the heathen are assembled together against us to destroy us. What things they imagined against us thou knowest. How shall we be able to stand against them, except thou, O God, be our help?" Then sounded they with trumpets and cried with a loud voice. And after this, Judas ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, and over hundreds, and over 50s, and over 10s. But as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return, every man to his own house according to the law. So the camp were moved and pitched upon the south side of Emmaus. And Judas said, "Arm yourselves and be valiant men, and see that you be in readiness against the morning, that you may fight with these nations that are assembled against us to destroy us and for our sanctuary. For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities of our people and our sanctuary. Nevertheless, as the will of God is in heaven, let him do so."
מי ימלא גבורות ישראל אותן, מי ימנה, אין בכל דור יחון הגיבור גואל העם. מי ימלא גבורות ישראל אותן, מי ימנה, אין בכל דור יחון הגיבור גואל העם. שמע בימים ההם הזמן הזה, Maccabees מושיע ופודה, ובימינו כל עם ישראל יתאחד יקום לתגאל. Who can tell the things that befell us? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage came to our aid. Who can retell the things that befell us? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage came to our age. Listen, Shema. At this time of years and days of yore, Maccabees the temple did restore. And today our people, as we dreamed, will arise, unite, and be redeemed. Mi yimneh geburat Yisrael otan, mi yimneh en bechol yakum magibur goel ha'am. Who can retell the things that befell us? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage came to our aid.
Chapter 4. Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army, which was at Emmaus, while as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. In the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas, and when he found no men there, he sought them in the mountains, for, said he, these fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. And they saw the camp of the heathens, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were the expert of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, "Fear you not their multitude, neither be you afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. Now, therefore, let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy his host before our face this day, that so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivers and saves Israel. Then the strangers lifted their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of camp to battle. But they were with Judas, sounded their trumpets. So they joined the battle, and the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain. Howbeit in them all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them into Gezerah, and unto the plains of Idumea, and Atosus, and Gemnia, so that there were slain of them upon 3,000 men. This done, Judas returned with his host from pursuing them, and said to the people, Be not greedy for the spoil, inasmuch as there is a battle before us. And Gorgias and his host are there by us in the mountains. But stand you now against our enemies, and overcome them, and after this you may boldly take the spoils. As Judah was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who, when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight, and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared that was done. When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight, they fled everyone into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold, and silver, and blue silk, and purple of the sea, and great riches. After this they went home and sang a song of thanksgiving, and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endures forever. Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. Now all the strangers that escaped came and told Lysias what had happened, who, when he had heard thereof, was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass. The next year, therefore, following Lysias, gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot, and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them. They came unto Idumea, and pitched their tents at Bethsura, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed thou art our Savior of Israel, who did quell the violence of the mighty men of the hand of thy servant David, and gave the host of the strangers into the hands of Jonathan the son of Saul, and his armor bearer. Shut up this army in the land of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them be of no courage, and cause their boldness and their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with their sword, the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. So they joined the battle, and they were slain of the host of Lysias, about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain. Now, when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antioch, and gathered together a company of strangers. And having made his great army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judea. Then said Judas and his brethren, Behold, our enemies are discomforted. They let go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Now, upon all of this, the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Sion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and their altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and the shrubs growing in the courts as if in a forest or one of the mountains, and the priest chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads, and fell down to the ground upon their faces flat, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against them, those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleaned the sanctuary, and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down. and laid the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place until there should come a prophet to show what could be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. They made new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense. And or Kislev, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it, even in that was it dedicated with songs and citharans and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell on their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields. And the gates and the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them. Thus there was great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brothers went with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month of Kislev, with mirth and gladness. At that time, they also built up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של חנוכה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה ניסימיו על אבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה, ועל הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל התשועות ועל הנפלאות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. ועל הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבורות ועל התשועות ועל הנפלאות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה.
Maoz Yeshuati Hanukkiah Shapira Tikon Beit Tefilati V'shan Potan Nizapea Le'etachin Matpea Mitzar Hamnavea Azek Mor Beshir Mizmor Hanukkiah Hamizbeach Azek Mor Beshir Mizmor Hanukkiah Hamizbeach. Rock of ages, let our song praise your saving power. You amid the raging foes were our sheltering tower. Furious they assailed us, but your arm availed us, and your wood broke their sword when our own strength failed us, and your wood broke their swords when our own strength failed us.
Shalom everybody and welcome to Halakha Yomit with me for the Hanukkah. Tonight I would like to speak to you on the second night of Hanukkah, on the Yoetz, on this counselor night, about the essence of the Chag. We call it in Hebrew Pirsumei Nisa, and here is what I wrote. It is well known that in the essence of lighting the candle is known as Pirsumei Nisa, meaning the publishing of the miracle that took place during the day of our Father. For that reason, it is the mitzvah derabanan, meaning the instruction of our sages to fill the house with as many people as possible and to place the Hanukkiah on a place just like this behind me. The Pirsumei Nisa is the publishing of the miracle. That's why the Halakha teaches us that we have to take at least 30 minutes of doing absolutely nothing between the time we light the candles to simply stare and place the Hanukkiah in a place that is visible for those who are away from us, outside of us, for the stranger, for the foreigner. Why? So that they would want to come on in and take part of the house of Israel. So today, Take this opportunity to talk about what God is doing in your life. Pirsumei Nisa of what He's done during the time of the Maccabees. He is a living God. And that's why we say, Bayamim Hayem, Basman Hazeh. In those days, He's doing the same thing today as He has done for the Maccabees. Why? Because God doesn't change. Let us publish and advertise our God name by inviting others to join us. God bless you and Chag Sameach.
Chag Hanukkah Sameach, night 2 of Hanukkah here with the Ala Nisim band. Chag Hanukkah Sameach. We are in the month of Kislev, and Kislev is the month of miracles. Hanukkah is a time of miracles, so we are praying for miracles, breakthroughs in your life. Amen. Let's enter in together. Get your dancing shoes. Grab your friends and family. Sevivon, sof, Hanukkah, Hanukkiah, Chakol, Sevivon, sof naso. Let's go, Hayab.
Miracles!
Sof naso. Let's go, Hayab. Sevivon, sof. Hanukkah, Chakol, Hanukkah, Uchatov, Sevivon, sof naso. Let's go, Hayab. Sof naso. Let's go, Hayab. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין משיח. Ay, oy, Mashiach. Ay, Mashiach. Ay, oy, Mashiach. Sof naso. Let's go, Hayab. Sof naso. Hanukkah Sameach.
Today I want to teach and touch on some things with you that you perhaps have not heard before about the story of Hanukkah. The teaching here today will be called the miracle of the Pach. But before I get to the teaching, I would like to just remind you that programming like this, teaching like that, takes tremendous amount of resources to produce. And really, this is a season that we are trusting and believing in God provision. So if you are blessed by our programming here at Ahavat Ammi Ministries, we are really could certainly use your prayers and your financial support during this time as the needs is just continue to grow and grow for us, even here in the studio where we want to produce more and give you more. So thank you for your support and Chag Sameach from us. I want to start the teaching today from a passage that you perhaps read many times before, but you never connected it to the story of Hanukkah. In the book of Jeremiah, the chapter 23, we read a very important verse about the portrait of the Mashiach. We read the following verse in Jeremiah chapter 23. Behold, the days come, and hopefully we can get it on your screen for you. Behold, the days come, says the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous shoot, and he shall reign as king and prosper, and shall execute justice and righteousness in the land. Who is this king? I think the answer is pretty obvious, that the king in this passage is none other than the Messiah of Israel. And notice that the Messiah of Israel will have a very interesting name. He will be known by the name Tzaddik. He will be righteous. But he is also going to be known by the name Tzemach. Tzemach, the Hebrew word tzemach, is the equivalent to the English word shoot. Now, the word tzemach, the appearance of tzemach into the world, is an acronym in the Hebrew language of tzaddik, mem, and chet. And if you put tzaddik, mem, and chet, you get the word tzemach. Let's look together what tzaddik, mem, and chet mean. Tzaddik, mem, and chet mean in Hebrew, tzaddik for tzitzit, that is what we wear, the garment that we wear. Mem for mezuzah, that's the things that are on our doorpost. And chet for the word Hanukkah. The rabbi explained to us that the chet represents Hanukkah. What is the connection between tzitzit to mezuzah to Hanukkah? Well, the tzitzit and mezuzah are pretty self-explanatory. The more tikkun that we do, the more that we can do in Torah to come closer to God, the sooner the Messiah will return. The more tikkun that we can do, the faster Mashiach can appear in the world. The same is true about the mezuzah. The mezuzah represent God's name written upon our houses. But Hanukkah is also derived from related to the term tzemach, related to the restoration of Mashiach, as related specifically for the festival of light. Today, I would like to explore with you briefly what is the connection, this mystery between the coming of tzemach to Hanukkah. What is the connection between them? What is the connection between those lights to Hanukkah, to the coming of this righteous shoot? For those of you know Hebrew, know that that we light the candles for 8 days. And it is acronym for what we're doing. Lighting candles for 8 days of Hanukkah. In Hebrew, it is madlikim, which means to light, shmonet is 8, yemei, days of Hanukkah. The acronym there is mem, shin, yod, chet, which should sound familiar to you. It is the name Mashiach. There is a deep connection between Messiah and Hanukkah, the coming of the coming of the righteous shoot, the lighting of the candle. They all are pointing to one thing and one thing only, to the Messiah. There are some glaring questions that we have to ask ourselves. In Hanukkah, if you count minus the shamash, we light 36 candles. What is the meaning behind the number 36? With the shamash, we light 44 candles. With the shamash, 44 in Hebrew is a significant number. It's represent the number that represents the word dam. Dam is blood, is a picture, in essence, the lighting of the candle of the blood that will be covering us and atoning for our sins. The entire concept of Hanukkah is dealing with the atoning power of the Mashiach. But without the shamash, which is the servant, we are lighting 36, okay? Another question we have to ask ourselves, not only why we light 36, why is it that it's by Jewish law, it's not permissible? Notice all my candles look exactly the same, they're uniform. I cannot take candles from one package and a candle from another package and mix them together. Why is it by Jewish law that is it not allowed to do it? Why do I have to use the exact same, by halacha, the same package and the same candles, and I cannot mix and match? This is a question we must to ask. What is the messianic connection? And I would like to answer some of those questions with you. Perhaps we need to ask, what's the connection between the Mashiach and those lights? Well, in order to understand the connection, the messianic connection, we need to understand what the light of Hanukkah represents and what is it that we are truly lighting. The rabbi spoke about the fact that it does not just represent the miracle of the flask of oil that lasted for 8 days, but yet there is something much greater in this story. As you know, in the story of creation, in Genesis chapter 1, in the fourth day, okay, it's called in Hebrew the fourth day, Yom Revi'i, we know, actually, let's go to this passage together and we see what's happened in the fourth day. And it say, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give a light upon the earth. And it was so, and there was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. In the end of the fourth day, light was created. And what is this light that was created? According to the sages, it was the light that is actually known by the name the concealed light, okay? It's called the concealed light, and if you want to look with me on the very first week of creation, it was created in the end of the fourth day, so it's leave you Thursday, and it's leave you Friday, and it's leave you Saturday. 3 days, okay? And this time of Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, okay? Or if you want to go like this, it's represent these 36 candles of Hanukkah. Each one of these, the rabbi says, represent 12 plus 12 plus 12, it represents those 12 hours between a day and a night and a day and a night and a day and a night, which makes the number 36. That is the exact numbers of the lights of Hanukkah. That's represent the tikkun that was there in the beginning of time. Those lights represent the concealed lights that were there in the creation, and specifically it is the light of the first man. When who was the first one? The first man is known by the name of Adam or Adam, okay? So the concealed light represents the first light of Adam Arishon, the first man, who was a picture of the Mashiach. First Adam was a picture or a messianic figure of the Mashiach who is to come, okay? And I want you to understand this, that when we light those candles, in essence, what we're asking God to do is for the concealed light, the first light of Adam, the light that has been, after the first sin of Adam and Chava, has been scattered all over heaven and earth. We're asking for God to restore this light, and that is truly the light of Mashiach. In essence, the entire story behind Hanukkah has to deal with the restoration of the concealed light back to its source, okay? And that's why we cannot mix and match Hanukkah candles as an example. Why? because we are symbolically saying we are using the concealed light, the very first light. It's a picture. A box cannot have a defect, a candle cannot have a defect, because it has to be in perfection. In essence, our cry in Hanukkah is for God to restore back the concealed light, which, as you will see in a moment with me, represent the Mashiach itself. And a matter of fact, we celebrate Hanukkah in the month of Kislev. Let's look together at the word Kislev. The word Kislev, it's derived from two words, kes, which means throne, and lo, throne to him. In essence, is a throne to who is the him here? And the rabbis understand that the throne to him represent the throne of the Messiah. This is a representation, the entire Hanukkiah. The entire story of Hanukkah, as we will see tonight, have to do with setting and preparing a way for the Mashiach to receive back his throne. So that is essence, a prophetic picture in preparation for the coming of the Messiah. And I told you that there are 36 lights, 36 candles in Hanukkah. And the question that we must ask ourselves today, where is the concealed light? Why is it concealed? And most importantly, how do we restore back the concealed light back to its original source? Well, look at what Chazal explained to us. They use this term klipa. Klipa is a term that is shell. So let me show you something. It says 36 klipot represent 36 candles. Klipa, imagine an onion is one layer of onion. Okay, and there's another layer of onion, and another layer of onion, and another layer of onion, and so forth. The rabbi says that there are 36 shells, and inside the 36 shells, and each one of these candles represent one of those shells, okay? In the heart and in the essence of all of these shells, if we can overcome darkness, we will find inside the concealed light, which is the light of Mashiach, okay? And that's why, by the way, the kingdom of Greece, with all the song we're singing, the kingdom of Greece came to darken the eyes of Israel spiritually, okay? So we will not be able to peel the onion, sort of speaking, to be able to get to the concealed light. The concealed light in the middle is the Mashiach, and it is the Torah. This light has been concealed, and our desire, that's why the rabbi said that we're to recite those 8 names of Mashiach, is to come to the essence, to the Shamash, and what it is in the middle of all of this is the concealed light. And it says, Chazal says, Hu horo shel melech Mashiach. This is the light of King Messiah. So inside this 36 klipot, the light of Messiah is hidden, and this Hanukkiah represent the very first spark back from the garden, from the first man, first man. And Hanukkah represent our desire is to return back to the original light, to return back to the Garden of Eden. And by the way, this is the exact reason that the author of the Brit Chadasha of the book of Corinthians write the following about this tikkun. And it says, so also it has been written that the first man become a living soul. That's Adam. That's the spark that was given to Adam. But It is the Adam Acharon, it is the last Adam who become a resurrected spirit. It is the role and the responsibility of the last Adam, okay, to restore all things back to the original creation. Yeshua come to restore the things that Adam, in essence, messed up in the garden and restore the world back to its original condition. Hanukkah is a season of not just miracles, but it is a season of true desire to return back to the garden. What about you today? You're watching this program. Is your desire today to be restored back? If it is your desire to be restored back, you know that the only one that can restore you back is the one who is called the last Adam. It is the Mashiach himself. And how is it doing it? He is going to do it by shining his light. That's why he told us to shine our light, because it's not our light, it is truly him who is shining inside of us. So the question that we have to ask ourselves today is, how do we restore back the concealed light? Now that we understand what the Hanukkah and why we're counting forward, because we are peeling every day the onion to get to the middle, and the middle is the Messiah. The question is, how do we do it? Let me reveal to you, brothers and sisters, one of the greatest mystery of the story of Hanukkah. As you know, inside the temple they found one flask, and the flask was supposed to last only for 1 day, but it lasted for 8 days. The number 8 represents the number of supernaturality in Hebrew, something that is above the human understanding. And the word for the flask in Hebrew, it's called in Hebrew pach hashemen, or in Hebrew it is pach. Pach literally means this flask. The miracle was in the oil that was inside the flask. There was something supernatural about this oil that allowed the menorah to light for 8 days. Well, Chaverim, the Hebrew word for flask is the word pach. It is interesting and incredible that the same word of pach, equivalent to 580 in Hebrew, equivalent to the word shiur in Hebrew. The rabbis connected the miracle that is happening through the pach. Let's put up this slide one more time. The pach, which is the flask, to the Hebrew word shiur, okay? Because it is going to be something supernatural that's going to occur to somebody who is called shiur. If we can understand who is shiur, we can truly understand what was inside the pach that allowed it to shine, to brightly shine, and not to die for 8 days. To find this answer, what's the connection between the word pach 580 to shiur 580? Perhaps we need to start with the book of Isaiah chapter 9, where we read, "For a child is born unto us. A son is given unto us, and the government will be upon his shoulder." And every night when we light the Hanukkiah, we say those names. And his name will be Pele Yoetz, El Gibor, Avi Ad, Sar Shalom. He will have 8 names. But I want you to notice that the very first name that we'll give to him will be the name Pele. Pele is his name. Why? Because he will be miraculous. The story of Hanukkah is the story of miracle, and it's related to the one who is called shiur. He is the one that was able to restore the light the concealed light back into the Beit HaMikdash. So who is Sa'ir? We find the answer for that in our Yom Kippur prayer. In the Yom Kippur prayer, we read the following, that the Messiah, who is our righteousness, let's look together, has turned away from us. We were perplexed, and nobody could justify us. He bears our iniquities and the yoke of our crimes upon himself, and he was pierced because of our iniquities. He carries our sins on his shoulders to find forgiveness for our misdeeds. We were healed by his bruises. It's time to create the eternal one, a new creation. Lift him up from a circle, draw him up from Sa'ir, and make us hear him again on top of Mount Lebanon in the end of Inon. In this incredible passage, we are quoting actually Isaiah 53, okay, and we are calling upon the one who will redeem us, and we say, bring him from a place called Sa'ir. The Hebrew word Sa'ir in the scripture literally mean to be full of hair, like my arm is hairy. Who is the one that is calling the text hairy, full of hair, red color? Well, it's none other than Esav. Esav, if you flip the letters of Esav or Sa'ir, called by Esav and Sa'ir, you get the name Yeshua. And interestingly enough, let's stay there for a second. The word Esav, who has been hated, right? And the word Sa'ir is also equivalent to the term Shalom in Israel. In Hebrew, he is called the Prince of Peace. Why is he called the Prince of Peace? How can it be that Esav, okay, who is called Sa'ir, he will be the one who will bring peace into the world? Well, I want to tell you today that this is some sort of a mystery. The story of the concealed light is a story of a mystery. The pach that represents the flask is none other, the flask and what's inside the flask and what's inside of it is none other than the Messiah of Israel, who will appear to Israel. He will appear as Esav, but he will be none other than actually the Messiah who will redeem them. It is his light who will redeem them. And recall the story with the angel who is wrestling with Jacob. Jacob's name is truly Israel. Now it is a prophetic picture of God who is wrestling with Israel. And I want you to notice that in the story, as he is wrestling with him, something supernaturally happened in the end of this. And it says, and I quote, "And the sun rose for him when he passed the place called Pnuel, and he was limping on his thigh." Now please understand, when we read the word limping, he was already healed. The rabbis tell us that Yaakov was already healed. The limping was part of his healing, and the thing that healed him is none other than the sun. What the sun represents? Sun is a representation or a picture of the light, okay? And the light is the one that can come only through the pach. The pach is the oil, what's inside the oil. It's a picture of the one who will bring healing into Israel. And the one who will bring healing into Israel is the one who is the Mashiach, who is the concealed light, but he will not appear to Israel as the concealed light. He will appear to Israel as the darkness. Rashi says on the following verse, this, and he said, and the sun rose for him. This is a common expression. When we arrive at such place, the dawn broke for us. This is a simple explanation. The Midrash Haggadah explained, and he said, and the sun rose for him to heal his limp. Please understand, this is very important. As it is saying, Malachi chapter 3 verse 20, the Son of mercy or Son of righteousness with healing in its wings. And those hours that it hastened to set for him when he left Beersheba, it hastened to rise for him. The sun came up to truly bring healing into Yaakov. And the sun in the light is the picture of the flask in the story of Hanukkah. Remember, without this light, there is darkness. And wherever there is darkness, and there is death. And who is the one who is going to bring the light? Who is the source of light? Well, remember, the word in Hebrew, light, or the word in Hebrew, pach, the flask, is the word isav, sa'ir. It is going to be Yeshua himself who bring this light forward. And that is the true messianic connection for the story of Hanukkah. As we look at each light of Hanukkah, we must remember today that the light has not yet fully came to the Jewish people, but he called you and I to be these human lights. And as we go through this process of becoming light, is piercing to the 36 layers of darkness. And what is inside the 45 layers, the 36 layers of darkness, inside the 36 layers of darkness, we ourselves going to find, inside the darkness, we're going to find the light itself. And that's why it says in the book of Yeshayahu, Isaiah the prophet, verse 45, chapter 45, verse 3, Vanatati lecha, I given to you, Otzarot, the treasure of darkness, Umatmonei Mistorin, and the mysteries, so that you know that I am your God, who call in Akoreh b'shimcha, in calling your name, Elohei Israel, the God of Israel, so that my servant Jacob and Israel, my elect, will be called by their name. The story of Hanukkah is the story of Yaakov, who transformed himself yet to be Israel, and the only way that he can transform himself back to be Israel is by receiving healing from the sun. The healing for the Son is none other than the Mashiach of Israel, who will bring the ultimate light and restore us all back, the second Adam, to the concealed light. I hope this lesson today was a meaningful lesson for you. I want we all go with a sense of purpose of becoming one of these lamps, one of these lights that bring Mashiach closer and closer, because when we pierce through darkness, we get one step closer to to the ultimate concern.